Well, I've done presentations in the past, technical presentations, but this is a little different, a little soul searching. So, put a fair amount of thought and effort into this, and tried to follow the guidelines that Higher Landing, put out for everybody. So.
Okay, so we'll maybe start with the ending and then work our way back. So we're going to Grizzly certify you today. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Great news.
So we do have some feedback for you that hopefully will help you out, and maybe we'll start with you, Duncan.
Sure thing. Great job, Rick. I think that everyone on the panel here would agree that you come across very well. You come across as the type of person that's humble, honest, professional, and really just willing to get things done, whatever it takes to do that, whether it be sitting in the boardroom or twisting wrenches. So I think everybody was really impressed with that. Just in terms of feedback, we don't want to polish the apple too hard on the positive side, because you know that. I think really the only thing that I would say in terms of what's next is to try and create some clarity around more specifically what you want to do and how you want to do it. And you had alluded to needing to do some work there. So I think that there's already some self-awareness, but you've got a tremendous skill set. Finding a way to apply that to the market in a very uncertain market is going to be challenging. So I think that you've got some really good connection in the oil and gas sector. It sounds as if you've got some really good connection outside of that as well. So I'd lean on that to take the good ideas you've got and find a way to funnel those down to how is this market appropriate and where do I find a way to create value and economic value with that. So that would be my comments, but great job.
Okay, thanks.
Rick, I would say it strikes me that you're somebody who can, develop solutions to things using your consultation, your engineering background. And it strikes me in terms of somewhat to Duncan's comment on, clarity in terms of the market is that I think there's an opportunity, particularly in this totally, turned upside down world that we're living in right now, is that you're probably the kind of guy who can identify some of the problems that are out there and probably start to narrow in on solutions as you choose to go down a couple of paths, maybe look at industries or particular dimensions of industries, likely through networking and conversations. But I actually feel the roll up your sleeves, being able to, take care of kind of all the key elements, but not necessarily in this, but in a pragmatic way, is exactly what we need going forward. And so I would really encourage you in that respect, because you really came across very strongly to me. Absolutely, you build trust very quickly. You were delightful, very authentic and honest. But I see that you seem to have probably quite a unique ability to sort of identify problems or opportunities to improve things and find solutions. So, go for it.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
So I, really enjoyed listening to your stories. And you came across as very versatile. I noticed your organizational effectiveness, in your resume. So it sounds to me like you can be a builder or a maintainer or both, depending on what the situation requires. So I also appreciated the fact that you recognize that this is a good time to do that research, and I also know that this time can be pretty non-motivating, where you'll be like, whatever, I'll wait it out. But I think, this is a great time for you to do that research, make those connections. And something we had mentioned in the room was also being careful about dropping off names, so you don't sound like you're name dropping. So, so just watch for that as you have conversations with people. But, with the people you do know, connect with them and see what doors open that way. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the feedback.
You're welcome.
I would just add on to what everyone else is saying. You are a great storyteller, Rick, and I really got a sense of who you were in the first 30 seconds of your introduction. I back up everyone else's points. It sounds like you are very capable I can see you working on large city projects like the Green Line. Don't know where that's going anymore, but looking into things like that. You know, you do have some very strong connections, and I'd be curious what Keith McPhail is doing right now. And, you know, can you have a virtual coffee and see what's going on, even in the health industry? Maybe he can guide you into some areas that you haven't thought of. And just look for those connections and take this time to make the connections, because I can tell you there's a lot of people waiting for their phone to ring, and they want that human interaction, and they're willing to do the work to support people they know right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my comment, Rick, is the only thing is I was a little unclear on, for me, was whether you would be more suited to a consulting role or an in-organization role. And because when I asked the question about consultation process, that seems to be a thing that was really, could be something that you could highlight. And so, you know, you can do project scope, which might be more of a consulting role, but if you really want to see it through, then the consulting path might not be for you. So I just would encourage you to think about both, because, and I'm not saying one's bad or not, it just depends what you want, but I was quite impressed with your ability to sell. I'm up here at the, you know, seeing the big picture, or I can see it through, because I can see it through to implementation and solve problems along the way. But you presented really well. One of the things that I think sometimes we struggle with in higher landing is, you know, you spend all the time figuring out what your North Star is. And so I was kind of glad not to see it on your resume, because it can sometimes throw people off when they go, what's a blade master? This is weird. But the fact that you were able to weave that into your story means that by the end of today, I would come away from it, say, talking to 6 or 7 different people in an interview, I would remember the person that told me the story about, I'm a blade master and let me tell you why. So I think that you did a really good job of articulating that. And I would just, again, think really clearly now about, am I going down a consulting path where I want many different projects, or am I the type of person that I want to find a project, consult on it, and see it through to the end?
Yeah. You know, I can see doing both. You know, there are projects that you would start from the beginning and put together and want to see it through. And then there are cases where you maybe just take a portion of that and do the consultation process and an advisory role where you hand off to a project manager for execution, but you're always available there for questions. So I can see doing both, and at this stage of my career, having an independence is very important to me if I could do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not bothered with getting tied to one or the other, but I do value you know, being able to sit down with various people, non-oil and gas people, and understand what's going on in their industries. You know, we get so tunnel vision that all I know is oil and gas. But so if I have the ability and I, you know, I'll pursue that. But to sit down with various people in different industries, I'd like to understand what they're doing more, as you've all pointed out.
My only comment too would be that profile, for me anyways, that top profile section is really, really critical. And so I'd want you to be really careful about the words that you choose so that they put you into the pool and not out of the pool. So if you're looking to pivot out of oil and gas, we can see from your PEng that you are a professional engineer, and I know that right away. But if you're looking at, I wouldn't open with experienced multidisciplined engineer if you are looking to move into, you know, large scale project management or something like that. I would highlight the skills that they need and hit me really hard. So I'll often tell people, if I don't do anything else, make sure that that profile aligns with whatever career path you ultimately decide on. And you may have 3 or 4 versions of that, depending on which paths you're pursuing. So just be a little cautious on choice of words.
Yeah, I know it's a balance. with the profile and past experience and what you want to do. So LinkedIn is very difficult because it's hard to nail each one of those, you know. So I mean, the feedback is great. I'd like to be able to use some probably better introductory words as to what I'm looking for. But it's so heavy loaded with my past experiences, strictly energy. So it's, you know, I sort of want to lose that, but I really don't. So I know it's different. It's difficult to find the proper words to pivot.
Yeah. But I think though that you've got the bones, right? So the bones that of the frame that you brought out, to me was, you know, you can manage capital projects. They're large scale. You can envision it from start to end. You can solve the problems. So the consultation process, I think, was really important piece as well. So you've got everything. It's just, how do you just, which parts do you pick and package depending on who you're speaking to or what role you're applying for.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wouldn't be afraid of your past experience. Just package it how you need to.
And you know, I agree with you, Alison. So Rick, what I would say is, it's almost like pick a project manager role and say, what are the things there that I can elevate from my experience? You know, Alison has touched on some: stakeholder management, relationship building. You know, how do you elevate those dimensions, you know, in your LinkedIn profile, even in the headline section? You know, let people find out. I mean, they already know your designation, but let them find out more about engineering later, because that is, you know, in the background more and more, based on what you've said so far.
Okay, great.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so just as we wrap up, so do you have any feedback, any aha moments for Higher Landing? Anything you'd like to leave with them?
Well, when the den was in your breakout room, Jackie was online, and she spoke quite a bit about my presentation, but specifically to the rest of the folks, and she you know, she had some great points about you know, it's important to know your value, important to how you present it, and this and that. So you know, she was taking notes, and I see Erin's on too. So you know, I'm sure that she heard what Jackie had to say. But you know, I think the folks here at Higher Landing are onto something. It's a very unique program, and it gets people ready. And you know, I hope to have tons of success going forward.
Okay, we have no doubt you will.
Yeah.
Congratulations.